Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I'm muted. This stupid button on my microphone. Hold on a second. Let me grab some water too. Hey. So welcome everybody. Get my refrigerator. Get me some water. But it's always a disaster, isn't it? So it's been kind of a drizzly, rainy day today. Kind of reminds me of those West Coast Oregon rains, just nasty, cool and wet all day. But yeah, it's been I've just kind of been sitting in the office doing stuff, working today, trying to get things organized. Um, Getting ready for post spawn and that kind of stuff, post spawn videos. But welcome, Eddie Mashburn. How you doing? Eli Self, how you doing, brother? Alan Fowler, what's up? Let everybody jump on here. I got a few things I want to talk about, just some business stuff. Remind everybody of a few things, that kind of stuff. So thanks for everybody for the heads up. I had hit my mute button about an hour ago and totally forgot about it. So, Matthew David Linger, he says, I love your content. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Somebody from British Columbia. What is up? Oh, goodness. It's too cold up there for me right now. So, Aaron Mathis, what's up, girl? She goes, "Are going to miss you at Hiram this year, man." I'd love to get back there and have some fun. But my son's flying out there next week to go to a wedding. He's just going to fly into Salt Lake, and I think he's got to go down to Arizona or something. So one of his best friends is getting married. So Star Cook, how you doing? Oh, Julian Del Real, what's going on from California? What is up? Benjamin Johnson, how's the garden? It's doing really good. It's just growing slow because of the cooler temperatures. Like my soil temperatures not getting too cold, but it's not warm enough to really let everything start really growing. But I'm almost done planting everything. I think the only thing left I've got to do is corn. I did okra the other day, which is not going to do much. It's going to sprout and sit there for about 3 or 4 weeks until it gets really hot. It likes that real hot soil before it starts to grow. But everything else is planted. Succession planting my squash and zucchini, so they're looking really good. But this year I'm trying to learn more about how to use my greenhouse. I used it a lot this winter, just not to its potential. I'm just learning more about greenhouse work. So anyway, that's my garden stuff. What's going on? T1D Steve from Michigan, how you doing? Let's see. Well, I'm thinking of it. What rod do you recommend for heavy swim baits on a kayak? I like a long-handled swim bait rod, but I have to stand up and fish it from a kayak. I really do. My shoulders hurt so bad trying to sit down casting that thing. I have some Envy swim bait rods from 13. And I think I got a couple of fake black ones too. So happy Cinco de Mayo. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let me jump on a little bit of business. First of all, the Knucklehead tournaments we've got going on. We just finished up month 2. That means we got 2 more months. They're only $15 to enter. For you guys who haven't heard about them, it's a bunch of YouTubers that have gotten together and we're having tournaments under our own names to start with, under the Knucklehead tournament. But it's our own tournaments where our fans and viewers and so on sign up. It's a catch, photo, release tournament. It's either bank fishing or kayak fishing, and we're trying to come up with winners of each of these tournaments. And so, let me read off the list of YouTubers so you guys know. There's Chad Hoover, of course. He's the one. This was his brainchild. Team Creek Fishing. I never can remember his full YouTube name. I wish we would have used everybody's full YouTube names. But anyway, John Cruz is up there, but he doesn't have any entries. I don't know if he's pushed it yet. Let me just say the ones that people have have actually signed up for Clay Guida, the MMA fighter. Many of you guys might know him as the Clay the Carpenter. Let's see. Team Wendell Fishing is up there. Team Gramps. Team Flanders. Alex Rudd's got a team going. Team Stark. And then there's me. And I've already done 2 months. And like I said, I've got 2 more months left. Now, the winners of each of these tournaments, you guys qualified to come down to fish the championship. And what it is the 4 people are part of that win my tournaments are part of my team. And we fish as a 5-person team on Gunnersville. It's either Gunnersville or Wheeler. I'll find out for sure from Chad when I film with him this next week. But the $15 goes towards prizes and things like that. So winners are going to get prizes. Second and third place, if I can raise enough money through entry fees, I'm going to try to get as many prizes out there as I can, and really make it worth everybody's while. But we're trying to basically take all 4 months and put it into one till and then hand out prizes at the championship. There's a few more details that are going to come down the chute. You can sign up for as many different YouTubers tournaments as you can. And I'll let me explain that real quick. If you'll notice, if I share my screen real quick, Jason Starley has signed up for mine. He won the first month one. And hold on, let me go full screen. That's not full screen. This is all right. Jason Starley won the first month, so he's already on my team. And he won the second month, which means it drops down to Caleb Crunk, who came in second place this month. So he is the official team member or winner. And so he qualifies, and I'll tell you about him in just a second. But if you look up here or down here at Chad's, Jason Starley also won April for Chad. So he's qualified for 2 different teams. So he gets to pick which team he's on. And so hopefully he'll pick mine because he's a dang good angler. And I hope he isn't too upset that I beat him in the KBF Challenge tournament this last month. He had 110.5 inches. I had 112.5. So hopefully that doesn't play against me and he ends up going over to Chad's team. But Caleb Crunk, he's a teenager, Eagle Scout. I've met him a couple of times. Great kid. Fished out of a sit-inside cheap little Walmart kayak, and then ended up saving his money and buying a used Ascend kayak. And he came out with 106.5 inches and ended up qualifying for my team. So I'm pretty excited about that for him. And hopefully he's on here, or we'll get on here a little bit later. But I'm excited about that. Let me go back to full screen. But that's the Knucklehead Challenge, and it's real easy to sign up for. You just go on Fishing Chaos, look up the club, or look up KBF, and then look for the Knucklehead tournament, and then find mine and sign up. And so pretty easy. But and then we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Okay. And then there's my guiding service. I've got 1 trip booked for this next week. And so I've started guiding. I decided I was going to stay close to home to guide, mainly because of gas cost and stuff like that, of just getting things started. But I'm guiding a trophy managed state lake that's right up the road from me. I know it like the back of my hand. And it's only open the 1st through the 10th. So I'm only guiding the 1st through the 10th of each month, except for Sundays. And so you just go on Fishing Chaos, find my guide page, Fluke Master Fishing, and sign up that way. I reduced the price down to $300. I'm calling it the guinea pig value, because you guys are the first people to sign up are going to be my guinea pigs. And so anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that's going on. So anyway, what's up, everybody? Can you join and take part in these? I don't see why not. I don't see why not at all. Maybe a little bit of a challenge getting you down here for the championship, but we can make it happen. That's for sure. So Wes Stevens signed up for Team Creek. All right, I got you, man. I'll remember that. Not gonna sign up for my tournament, huh? I got you. Zoom Masters. That's just another smear thing coming from the KBN. There is some issues with the divorce and that kind of stuff that it's making it a little bit more difficult for payouts. And then we got some. I know he had some sponsors that hadn't paid and were way behind in paying money that they had already signed and promised for. But I don't know about anything else about that. I haven't talked to Chad in probably 3 weeks. So, but yeah, if it's there any truth to it, I'll find out about it this next week. But who knows? Has a lot to. I'll just put it this way: if it's happening, it has a lot to do with the divorce and some of the things that were agreed upon with that. So, what days would the Knucklehead Championship be fished on? I don't know. Let me look at the things yet. I don't think we've come up. I know it's in October. It doesn't say yet. No, it just says to be determined. So I'm not sure. Rattlestrap says still working, can't hang out long. Went pond fishing last weekend, and the fish were acting weird as heck. They were open mouth bumping my lures, not like they were moving them off their beds either. Huh. That's weird. Let's see. Here's one. Benjamin Johnson says, do you ever mess around with the 6-inch, 5-inch trace swim baits? Lots of people up here in Ohio, and I have a couple of them. So far, I like their actions, and I fished them a little bit, but I haven't given them their due diligence. So, here's a good one. When trying to figure out what fish you're hitting on, how long do you fish with a certain bait or a certain color before you start to change baits or colors? For me, it's all about confidence. I have gotten to the point where I can recognize when I lose confidence in something and it immediately change. And so when I'm trying to figure out fish, I it's all about time on the water. The more time you spend on the water, the more successes and failures you have, the more you learn what dictates what a bass is doing. But in order to figure that out, though, you still have to try new things out. So I'll still run through the same checklist in my head, like wind and water clarity and light and that kind of stuff. But I'll notice that I've lost confidence in either the area I'm in because I've looked around and seen no life, or lost confidence in the lure or the technique that I'm using, and I'll totally switch up. And so, but once I key in on something, I tend to stay with it for quite a while. And it, as long as it's working, I'll stay with it, because I've been fishing a jig for, 4 weeks. It's pretty much all I've thrown. I've changed the line out on my jig rod twice, and I don't ever change line out. I've gone through, I had to go spend $70 on more Picasso tungsten jigs, this last, 3 days ago. And yeah, dude, it's just been, that's just the way I am. But the biggest thing is all about confidence. I know I got off on a tangent, didn't I? Let's see. Eli Celsius, he says, I'm selling some baits to raise money for a mission trip I'm going on. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. My son's on his mission trip right now, which is pretty cool. So, Sean divorced. Yeah, Chad Hoover and Christy got divorced last year. And so, but she's still considered the president of KBF, and that's kind of where the problem lies. So, and I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Ace Camper going to test my 3 new Fate Blacks on some peacock bass in South Florida tomorrow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Alan Fowler, what size and type hook do you recommend for wacky rigging? It depends on for me, all the different ones that I've tried, it all depends on the brand of hook, because a brand of hook of a 1/0 size of one brand will be different than a 1/0 size of another brand. But for like Gamakatsu, I use 1/0. There's one out of Japan that I used to use, and I used to have to get 2/0 because the 1/0s were too small. But now I strictly use Gamakatsu's Wacky Rig hook, and I also will use a Cahill hook every once in a while, but that's usually pretty big. So let's see. Do you always use leaders? I've always used them in saltwater, but never really needed them for fresh. I don't always use them. I use them 100% of the time with my spinning rods because I love braided mainline on my spinning rods. Just, it's a lot less problematic. But no, I typically, and I'll preach it to those who really have a weak hook set when they're kayak fishing. If you're having a hard time getting the hook set into fish, you got to reduce the amount of stretch in your line and all this other stuff. The best thing to do is just change to braided line with a short fluorocarbon leader. And you'll get a stronger hook set and go up. I always go up in a rod power if I need to, but yeah, dude, it's, leaders for me, I'm always using them for spinning rods. I rarely ever use them for bait casters anymore. It's almost all 100% fluorocarbon. Little branding, fluorocarbon, a little bit, but it's always that. And then 100% braid for stuff that you typically use down in Florida, like, punching rigs and frogging and that kind of stuff. What was the name of the tool restringing your rods quickly? Oh my gosh. I thought about that tool the other day, and I haven't heard from the owner for a long time. I don't know if they're making them anymore. The rod threading device, I think, RTD is what I think it's what it was called. So, and it doesn't, my issue with it is it just didn't work for micro guides. And as hard as he worked to try to get something to work with micro guides, it just didn't happen. So, if you had $200 for a must-have tackle order, what would be the essentials you had to get? Essentials. Now, a must-have tackle and essentials are two different things for me. Must-have tackle is stuff that I really want to try, for me at least. The essential stuff is the stuff I use all the time. And I'll brand this one, Picasso tungsten football heads. I go through them. There's things I don't like about them, but the thing I love about them is they've got a light wire hook, and I don't have to hammer the hook set home to get a hook in them. What other things? Trick worms, rage bugs. Those are the ones I use the most. Rage bugs I use like they're going out of style. Maybe a little name drop, but I'm real good friends with the owner, Steve Parks. A lot of you guys know him online as Big O. But he gave me a gallon before they hit the market. I was at an event for Bass Resource, and he gave me a gallon bag of hand poured rage bugs. I'm talking before anybody knew they were coming out. And I went through that bag in 4.5 days. I caught so many stinking fish with that thing. So that's always been a staple for that was probably 12, 13, 14 years ago. So, all right. What does this say, Matthew? Matthew said, as I mentioned last live, we have flooding going on here in Illinois, Silvis, Illinois. It is finally going down, but wanted to know after it gets back in the banks, how long does it take for them to settle down and bite? So water level is something that I have done a horrible job of making videos about it, but it's something that's really important to me, specifically on during weather, but on river lakes is what I'm typically doing it, like Tennessee River and stuff like that. I always pay attention to whether the water is going up or coming down. And so what's going to happen is as long as that water is continuing to fall, those bass are going to be pulled out because they're scared. They're going to get caught in that shallow stuff. So they're going to be pulled out to the next deepest cover or beyond and waiting. And as soon as that water levels off and either starts to go back up or stays level for just, a day, maybe, they'll head back towards the bank and start to feed shallow again. Especially in Illinois. But until that water level stops falling, they're going to be out deep. So, and I pay attention to that because that frog tournament I fished years ago in Guntersville. I paid attention to the water level, and luckily the night before the tournament it dropped only an inch, but it pulled all the fish out of about a 50 acre shallow grass patch out into the outside edge of that grass patch, and that's where my main spot was, and I stayed there the whole day catching fish. And so yeah, you just got to pay attention, and dropping water they'll pull out, rising water they pull up. So any new videos that you're excited about making this year? I don't know about excited. I've got some, like there's one little one that keeps bouncing around in my head. I just need to go ahead and do it. It doesn't seem like much, but there's certain things I have in my boat and in my kayak that save me a lot of money every single day. And so I want to talk about those items. And that's the next one that's bouncing around my head. I don't really get excited. Well, I don't really have anything I'm excited about planned. My problem is I get so obsessed about one video once I have an idea, and that I just need to stop and do it instead of just keep fishing and trying to catch big fish is what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to get like YouTube shorts and stuff like that together. I'm gonna sit down this next week and edit some of them and that kind of thing. But I pretty much got most of that filmed. Now I just got to get back to making instructional. So, but yeah, that one is going to be one I'm going to get done here pretty quick. Great American Survival. When fishing a lake with tall grass and flat calm, first thing in the morning, what's your go-to? A buzzbait. First thing in the morning, tall grass, slick calm, I'm going to throw a buzzbait almost every time, unless the water temperature is below 55 degrees. Cool. I got somebody detailing my truck right now. He just left my keys outside my door. Anyway, so yeah, that's definitely tie on a buzzbait, start yanking it around. It's a lot of fun. Southern yak here in CFL, you can go straight braid because of all the weeds. That's true down in Florida. Jonathan says, "Oh, so you didn't get a divorce? Thank God. No, man. Been married 23 years. She is stuck with me." Stephen Guthrie, did you leave any jigs for me at Country Sportsman? No, I did not. I grabbed every single half-ounce black and blue jig they had. Yep. So sorry. Let's see. There's a Patriot J Fishing. He says, I'm finding fish down here in Southeast Georgia and loving the Yamatanuki. That's good, man. That's good. I need to pull mine out and start flipping them around again. I got stuck on the jig again, and it's so hard. You got to understand, was when I'm on a jig bite, I'm like a kid in a candy store. And with live scope on your kayak and a jig, it's ridiculous. It is so much fun. So, have I ever used any of the Geek Crack baits? No, I have not. Never even heard of them. I need to get out more. Goodness. When fishing a new lake for a tournament, how do you go about breaking it down to high percentage spots? Whew. Boy, Mike, that's a loaded question. All right, so I'm going to give you the kind of the nuts and bolts of it. When I get to a new lake, I got all my tackle in the back of the truck in boxes, and then I have small empty boxes, and I look at the water clarity, And I've already paid attention to the weather over the past 4 or 5 days. I take into account the seasonal patterns that are going on and that kind of stuff. And I use all that to put the right lures in my kayak. And I'll fill up those little 3,600 boxes with several different baits, fill up a bag of soft plastics, and go fishing. And when I break it down, it almost always depends on the seasonal patterns. And so you just have to study seasonal patterns to figure out what you're going to do and where they tend to be located. Now, key spots for me most of the year is I'm looking at the river channel, the main river channel, which is where the main current will be in most of the lakes that I'm going to be fishing. This does not stand true for grass lakes, or not grass lakes, natural lakes. Theirs tend to be more about the wind directions and how the wind has been over the last several 4, 5, 6 days. But with river systems, I'm looking for strong bends in the river, and then I'm looking for a big bay or a creek that comes in at that strong bend in the river. The reason being is that the current will push the bait fish into that creek more than it will on one that is not at a strong bend in the river channel. So I'm going to start up in that creek, and I'm going to start hitting everything that I've studied and that I know for the time of the year that it is. And that's pretty much the basics at the beginning. And then it has to do with what the current conditions are and how I'm going to fish and that kind of stuff. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. I'll give you, for instance. So when I was fishing the second day of the Laurel River tournament, I had never pre-fished that area that I fished, but I knew what the fish were doing throughout the whole lake from all my pre-fishing. I knew that the bass were guarding beds, the males were. And I also knew there was a shad spawn going on. So I told myself I was going to run my kayak for exactly 30 minutes. And then wherever I ended up, I was going to fish. And so I ran down the river for 30 minutes, and I ended up at a strong bend of the river channel, and it was a bend to the left. And I hung right up a creek arm, started right there in the mouth of that creek on some rocks. And that's when I started catching. I caught most of my fish in the next 45 minutes to an hour. And so, but yeah, that's such a key spot in those kind of lakes. Let's see. Mosier Boy says, all right, I'm 10 minutes behind. Any advice? I wish they didn't have the time up here in the comments, but they do. Any advice for a new tournament fishing fella? I've recently started kayak tournaments. It seems a bit overwhelming for me. Any advice, please? It is pretty overwhelming. The rules can be somewhat confusing sometimes, especially if you're not so used to, haven't been fishing many boat tournaments and that kind of stuff. I always recommend you start with local stuff. Either start in a club if you've got a local club close by, or start with the KBF Challenge Series. The Challenge Series is really cool. It's got it's a month-long tournament. You can fish anywhere in the state that's in your state or whatever state you sign up in. You can fish any public water, and then you're fishing for your biggest fish for the whole month. And it gives you the opportunity to make all the mistakes in measuring your fish. The things that we do, like pointing them in the wrong direction or letting them flop off the board, and you work out all the kinks in your system before you go fishing these live tournaments. And it just helps you get all of that together, and without any stress, without anybody really noticing, except for maybe a crazy fish you try to enter. But yeah, definitely that's where I would start. Just start locally and constantly try to get better at your techniques, like netting a fish. It's hard for me to explain how important it is to be really good at netting fish out of a kayak. It's not a difficult thing. It's just something you have to practice. I'm going to toot my own horn. It takes me 0.7 seconds from the time I touch my net to the time I can get a fish in the net. I actually probably broke it the other day. I had about an 18-incher coming in the air at me because I had set the hook and it was jumping, and it jumped. I saw it coming up and it was in the air, and I reached back and my net hadn't even gotten fully open by the time I got got it up underneath the fish, and I caught the fish in midair. But that's from practicing all the time, practicing getting my net out. Other things like measuring and taking the picture, that technique of what you do and what order you do it in is something you can really work on during those challenge series. So, did I ever go to England to fish? No, I did not. All right, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. Ace Camper, man, thanks for the $5. He says, "What are good reel speeds lures for Fate Black, cranking rod, and the medium fast?" So you match your reel speeds to the techniques that you want to fish, not so much the rods. You do match the rods to the technique as well. But there's only 3 options in reel speeds. A 6, a 7, and an 8, and so a 6, 7, and 8, whether it be a 6-3, 6-5, a 7-3, 7-8, whatever, I don't care about the point, whatever. But your 7-speed reel is your workhorse. It's the one you're going to use most of the time for most things. The 6 is really good for deep cranking and lures and rigs that have require a lot of torque. They have a lot of drag in the water. So I don't use those very often. I think I have 2 that I have in a box, and I may or may not put them on a rod. Usually 7s. And then 8s for me are when I'm flipping and pitching and I've got to get the bait back to me really fast and make another pitch, or I've got to, I've rarely ever use an 8 for anything other than jigs, Texas rigs, bottom baits, flipping baits, that kind of stuff. The moving baits, I'm always using a 7. And so for that cranking rod, I'd put a 7. For the medium fast, which I'm going to use mostly for spinner baits and things like that, like, crankbaits and stuff like that, I'm still going to use a 7. So hope that answered your question. So 7 is pretty much the best all around deal anyway. So thanks for the $5, brother. Appreciate it. I'm gonna catch up to this other donor. Matthew Wadsker, man, thanks for the $5. He says, "What's your PB for all types of bass, large, small, peacock, striper?" Man, I can't remember my peacock. I know I had a 5-pounder on, but it got off. So it's like 3.5, 4. Caught it while filming a TV show with Peter Miller down in Florida. And then striper, 35 pounds, I think. Smallmouth, 7.9 pounds, so almost an 8-pound smallmouth. I was on Lake Erie dragging tubes in 34 feet of water. And then largemouth bass is 10 pounds, 12 ounces. So I've only caught 2. I only had caught 1 over 10 pounds for sure. I caught another one I'm sure was over 10 pounds, but I didn't have a scale. So now that I didn't have the scale, I had lost my scale overboard that day. So Lee Jansen. Hey, Mr. Jensen, just wanted to say thank you for your baitcaster tutorials. I started casting a baitcaster very well from those. Even got my wife using a baitcaster with the same technique. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm glad I could help. I always wondered how many people I've taught how to cast a baitcaster with those videos. I don't know. It'd be cool to be able to find out, but I know there's no way to find out. Mosier boy, I've got to do this. I've got to read this one, y'all. It says, "How do I persuade my wife to let me fish tomorrow after I've been on the water today? Asking for a friend." Let's see. 23 years of marriage. I got one thing to say. Good luck, bro. Oh, goodness. Oh, Dean Bolin, you didn't have to write that. Dino says they're going to go fish the Flint tomorrow. I can't. I wish I could. Man, I wish I could be there with them. They're going overnight down the Flint River. So, Gene, or anyone, what's the deepest you've seen a bass on bed? I'm in Eastern Ohio fishing my local reservoir. Just curious. I'll be honest with you, 16 plus feet in on Clarks Hill Lake back in the day when it had a ton of hydrilla and it was super, super clear. I was in my 14-foot John boat and I looked, I laid, I got down at the gunnel and I looked directly under the boat. So the sun wasn't blocking anything and you could see that deep. And I saw bass on almost every stump spawning in 16 feet of water. And that's when I realized that it's very difficult for us to really hurt a population of bass by bed fishing on big lakes. Now, I have seen it happen on small lakes, like even 40-acre lakes and 50-acre lakes, where if you spend all day jacking bass that are on the bed, you can really hurt a 1 year population of bass on the lake. So keep in mind of that. But man, 16 feet deep for sure. What in the world? David Fields, thanks, man. He done donated $50 again. What's up, my homie? When you coming back to visit, we need to hit the hill. Bring your map card too. You mean bring my waypoints? Dude, I want to get out there really bad shortly, really, because I want to. I missed that topwater bite, and I know the bluebacks have started to spawn, or they're about to start to spawn. So, man, thanks for the $50. I'm gonna go back up and grab another question real quick. Sean Lay, what spinning reel do you use in general or from 13? They're new one, and I can't remember the name of it to save my life. Hold on a second. I'll pull it up on my computer here in just a second. So it is the Axiom. They just sent me a couple of them about 3 or 4 months ago, and I've been using them. So one of the things about spinning reels in 13 is they haven't always had the best spinning reels, and I'll be honest with you. I try to always be honest with you. I'm trying to share my screen. Hold on a second. So this is the Axiom, but this one is a really good, well-balanced, good spinning reel, and it is it's just been really tough for the guys over there to design, or their reel designer to get a spinning reel 100%. And I think this is as close as they've gotten. So I think it's $155 is what it is, retail, and just a really, really good spinning reel. Now they do have a couple of other good ones. The Aros is a good, no, not the Aros. Which one was it? Maybe it was the Aros. Yeah, or the Kalon is a good entry one. That one's pretty stout. I don't know why I just blew that up, but it's $60-$70. That's a good one. But their newest one is really, really good. Anyway, all right. You guys know how I try not to promote too much on these things. I do a little bit, but I'll definitely talk about those. See, pointers on wacky rig and offshore grass. I hate the wacky rig. I really do, Heath. And I know how to do it. The best thing I can say is when you're in offshore grass, try to stay on the points of that offshore grass. If you can identify where it sticks out further than everything else, and start pitching it to those points and pockets. If you see little indentions, you got a long straight piece or a line of grass, but there's little pockets. A lot of times they'll sit in those pockets and ambush. And I'm talking about like little bitty pockets. They'll sit in them and they'll ambush bait as it swims by. So, yeah, I hate the way. I'd rather throw a light Texas rig. It's just me. I'm just not super accurate with a spinning rod anyway. So, I want the word says, he says, just wanted to come on and tell you, thank you for going out of your way and helping us gummies out. He might say mean dummies. I've been watching your videos for the last week, getting ready to go out and try and beat my personal best. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I love doing this. I really do. Let's see. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. It says, love your techniques. Your technique. I've adopted so many things. Thanks, man. Colson, I've never used the Trica rods. Oh, my boy Damon is on. I thought I clicked on his comment. What's up, Damon? Paul McCurry, what type of and size of fishing line do you use for big nighttime spinner baits? Woo! Big spinner baits. I'm typically going to throw those on like 15, 17 pound fluorocarbon. Is what I'm probably going to use for sure. And it's always going to be Seagar, Brazex, or Tatsu. What size was that fish? I caught a 22.5-inch bass in the wind the other day, and she wrapped me around a stump for probably, and I got it all on video, for probably 7 to 10 seconds, somewhere around there. And at the end, I was just like, I'm so glad that I use a Brazex. I mean, because she had me sawing on that stump. And a 22.5-inch bass that's spawning and not fully spawned out, she was probably 7.5 pounds. So there we go. Let's see. Caleb, man, thanks for the $5. He says, you helped me catch my first fish 2 years ago from your Texas rig video. Used a 13 big squirm, which apparently they discontinued. Thank you. Yeah, 13. They're not getting out of the bait business, but they're getting away from those models they came out with. And I think, and I don't know for sure, but I think they're working on different ones or something different. I don't know. I gotta get back in touch with them and find out what's going on with baits. I know more about their rods and reels than anything, but yeah, I've got some of those big squirms. I may have to start selling them online. So they were really good baits. I think it was just too much for them at the time, because COVID and all that other stuff, I guess. That's just me guessing. So thanks, Noah. I appreciate it. Let's see. What's your favorite dirty water setup? Woo! Dirty water setup. Black and blue jig, Texas rig, creature bait, flipped around shallow cover, 20, 22-pound test fluorocarbon, 17-pound test fluorocarbon. I'll do that. Shooting in Florida, I was flipping grass with a 20-pound test fluorocarbon, and I should have been using braid, but I couldn't get bit with the braid. So, Chris Roberts, guide trip in Georgia. Yeah, I talked about it earlier, but I'm guiding Rocky Mountain Public Fishing Area, their trophy lake called Heath Lake. The 1st through the 10th, you can book on Fishing Chaos. For the first couple of months, I've reduced my price down to $300 a day for a full day. And I'm calling it the guinea pig discount. So, or the guinea pig rate. That way I can get all the bugs out of my system and not feel like I'm ripping people off when I screw up royally. So I appreciate it. Let's see. Cody Howard, where should I have my anchor coming off my SS-107? I also got a Yak Attack parking pole to go with it. Run it off the front for sure. Unless all you do is river fishing, you can run it off the back if you want to, but I like running mine right off the front through the handle up front is the best. And then use an Anchor Wizard. Not sponsored by them, but that is such a great tool when you're trying to manage an anchor line. So, when are your hats coming back? You lost your hat when my John boat sunk. Trying to get one. Oh my goodness, I have them. I don't know. Let me get back with you on that next week, or I'll message you about it. I have them. I don't remember if I've put them on the Gatto app yet or not, but I need to somehow figure out how to sell them. Gatto has not gotten back to me recently, so I'm not sure I want to trust them right now. So have I had any experience with the Megabass Mag Draft? Yes, I have. I really have. So between you and me, that lake that Matt Allen was fishing is the lake I fish every day. So I'm just glad he didn't mention the name of it. So, Star Cook, will you do a video on live scope and settings? Yeah, I can do that. But I'm going to be honest with you. So Brunswick is a company that owns several different bass fishing companies. They own Motor Guide, and Motor Guide's my biggest sponsor, or one of my biggest sponsors. And then they have recently acquired, well, year before last, they got Lowrance, and Rely On batteries, and a few other ones. But this year's contract includes Rely On and Lowrance for me. And so I'm patiently waiting for my Lowrance stuff to show up. I'm going to rig that up in my kayak. I'm going to do a bunch of videos about rigging it. And then I'm going to start doing instructionals on how to read live scope or whatever, their version of their forward facing sonar, and go from there. But yeah, dude, from what it looks like, I'll have all of my stuff by middle of this month. And then hopefully by next month, have everything rigged up. And then I'll start doing those type of videos, because I've been wanting to do those for years, just fish finder videos. So, and the kayak is actually perfect for that. And you'll know why once I start doing those videos, for not only filming it, but actually being able to have being able to adjust it the right way. Because, boats, there's certain things in the boats that get in the way, and you get a lot of interference and stuff like that from the other electronics that you don't from a kayak. So, all right, Brandon Huff. He says, my reservoir water level has just stopped climbing and the water temp has stalled at 61, and the spawn hasn't happened yet. Usually happens about about a 1.5 months before. What do I fish? So your lake has stopped rising. It's going to start to fall. So you need to back up and fish outside cover and ends of points and that kind of stuff. And what you fish is going to be determined on the conditions, like windy, stained, muddy water. You're going to fish moving baits. If it's muddy water, it'll be hard to fish them, but they're going to be in thick cover, and they're going to be out deeper. So, but up shallow, outside, it's kind of hard to explain, but the muddier the water, the shallower they get. My guess is that it's probably cleared up a little bit, and they're going to be out a little bit deeper anyway. So, and then just wait for that. They should be spawning or getting ready to spawn, but that water temperature or that water level tends to mess that up a little bit. Let's see. Do you use a BrazeX for just the leader or the mainline too? Mainline is what I've used, and I've been using it for almost exclusively for 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, and I haven't had any issues with it. And I lock down my drag most of the time on my jigs and stuff like that. So, which I don't recommend for beginners, because you end up hitting the button a lot and playing the fish out a lot. So you just gotta be careful with that. Let's see. What do you think of the new G2 Inception reels and Meta rods by 13? I love the rods. I don't have a lot of experience on the reels quite yet. But I'm using the Meta rod for my jig rod that I've been catching all my big fish on. They feel like one of those really good old school rods that are just, you can beat the crap out of, and it just keeps on coming. That's just what they feel like. And I love it, man. It's been a really good rod. So now my jig rod is one of the 7-foot 4 medium heavies. And so I'm not using a heavy jig rod. I'm using a medium heavy. So, do you ever fish any South Carolina lakes? Yeah, I get into Murray every once in a while. I fished a tournament last year in Murray. When I lived in Augusta, we would go to Murray all the time. I fished Clarks Hill, Russell, anywhere along the Georgia line, that kind of stuff. So, what are the odds you film with Kicking Their Bass TV again? I don't know. I can't get that son gun to call me back for anything. His dad will call me back, but he is so busy and he's got a new girlfriend and the whole 9 yards. That fool won't call me back. He's like my son, knucklehead, Noah. He knows I love him. I don't know why he won't call me back. But anyway, you'll get another video with eventually, but it's all on him now. For sure. Let's see. Cody Howard. What's going on, man? Hanging with Howard. He says, I got an anchor wizard. That's great. Brandon Keck, $300 per day is amazing for the experience. And what I tell everyone hiring a guide is if you pay attention, you'll get a lifetime of education, which is invaluable. For sure, man. There are certain people that I used to hire when I wanted to learn certain techniques. You know, one of the ones that I remember the most of the guide that I hired was years ago. I hired a young guide who was in the Army Reserves by the name of Ryan Salzman. And many of you guys know him, but this was back in the day. And what a great young guy. I mean, he was a great guide. We had some fun, dude. We had an absolute blast. Got into some crazy waves and crazy current because we were fishing tail races. And I learned so much from him, and him and I become good friends because of that. But, and I fished several times with him just for fun. Funny story. He was fishing by himself in his boat one day, and I was in my big boat, but my big boat's not wrapped, and I didn't have a red hat on, and he was fishing on Gunnersville outside line of the grass, and I pulled up and saw him, and I knew it was him, and I just kind of creeped him, just out of the range, out of distance where he couldn't tell who I was, and just kind of slowed down. And about 20 minutes later, I called him on the phone and told him it was me. He said, dude, you freaked me out. It was a lot of fun. But yeah. So, all right. Let's see. Andy Leonard, he says, do you think Raymarine will ever come out with live scope version of their own? I doubt it. I'm going to tell you the truth with Raymarine. They started to get into the freshwater part of the world, part of bass fishing or part of fishing. I just don't think that's their priority because they make so much money in the saltwater world with big boats and big ships and stuff like that. I got the feeling, well, mainly when they told me, we don't care about certain things. And so I really don't see Raymarine even heading that direction. I think it's going to be Humminbird, Garmin, and Lowrance really pushing that. So I'd be surprised. Really would. So what line test do you use for frog fishing? 50 or 60 pound braid is what I use for frog fishing. Frank Custe, if the bass are in heavy cover, is there a chance that panfish are in the area? Yes. My wife loves the small fish and I love the bass. She gets bored. I did the same thing with my son. Of course, we were in kayaks, but he didn't have a fish finder on his boat. This was yesterday. Jake didn't have a fish finder on his boat. So I'd scan and find the bluegill beds, set them up on it, and then I'd go fish the cover around that bluegill bed and catch bass while he was catching bluegill off the bluegill beds. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Let's see. How much is that rod we're talking about? The Meta rod, I think it was like $130. I think. You're going to have me pull up 13 fishing again over here. Good grief. Hold on. The Meta, $150, $149.99 is what it is. And the reels are, I think it's under the Inceptions. The reels are 150 as well. So not bad. It's called the Inception G2 is the reel. It's Gerald Swindle's rods and reels is what they are. They're his design. At least the rods are. So, let's see. What's your take on lake fishing to river bass fishing? Have any preferences? I prefer lake fishing because that's where almost all my confidence is. This year, I'm really going to spend a lot of time focusing on river fishing. I picked up two bona fide river 119s, the new river kayaks, and I really want to get better at river fishing, or at least more confidence. I grew up trout fishing, so I know how to read water and stuff like that. Just never from a boat. I was always in a pair of chest waders, knee high, and a pair of chest waders was where I grew up, man. And I used to be the only person you'd see up in North Georgia throwing a fly rod, and I was only 10, 11 years old. But yeah, dude, it's something I really want to get good at. And I've got three of the best rivers in the Southeast right down the road from my house. So I'd be dumb not to do it. So do you ever fish with big glide baits such as the phony frog? I do. I have a whole bunch of Mike Buca bull shad, bull glides. I throw them. I just picked up one of the, what do they call it? Shoot. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's the one that it's a regular model of the one that Spro just got a copy of, or just, they signed a contract and Spro just came out with them. I can't remember the name of it. Matt Shed. No, it's not Matt's. Anyway, I'm horrible with names. Let's see, Andrew Watson, the Brunswick info is cool. Didn't know about Motor Guide and Lowrance. Love my XI3. Made a free upgrade from a Raymarine Dragonfly 5 to a Hook 2, 7-inch. So far, Lowrance seems easier for me to use. They used to not be. The Hook series is meant to be real easy to use, but man, those original the Lowrances I started out with, I remember my biggest complaint was the amount of menus you had to go through to change things. Drove me nuts. Of course, it's totally different now, but man, I hated that. Think you might do anything with B-Lad again? He's a little into kayaks now. Yeah, I could probably. I mean, yeah, if he wasn't fishing tournaments full time, it'd be a lot easier for him and I to do things together. We were going to do something, and then COVID hit, and then of course he's like, and I don't blame him. I didn't want to do anything with anybody either. So, but yeah, I need to get back with him. Jared Evans, what's my PB? Bass is 10 pounds, 12 ounces. Matthew Pili, I'm gonna try. I hate to butcher people's names. Do you use a mostly braid with leader, or do you also use straight? I use mostly straight fluorocarbon. For me, it's just feel. I don't know. I'm just so used to straight fluorocarbon. If I spent a lot of time using braid to a fluorocarbon leader, I would end up doing that. I mean, doing that a lot and just gaining confidence in it. But for me, I just always done it, and so it's just hard for me to go to a braid to a leader. I can't stand the sound of the knot going through the guides, and stuff like that. And I suck at casting 40-pound braid. I have one reel that has 40-pound braid on it, and I get a backlash about every 20 or 30 casts just because I just suck at 40-pound braid. 50 I'm good at, 60 I'm good at. It has to do with line diameter, I know, but goodness. Sean Lee, yes, the glide bait I was talking about is the KGB Chad Shad. And I got the newest one that came out the day it came out at the Classic, the one that's got all it's got texture on it anyway. So I haven't caught anything on it yet though. What is the real reason you guys like tactical bass and don't always share what lake y'all are on when making some video? Let me read that. What is the real reason you and guys like tactical bass and don't always share? So the biggest thing is that we don't like to burn up a lake, and so I know I've done a little bit of that for my home lake. A lot of the local guys know I fish it, but it's such a hard lake to fish that I can get away with doing that. When Matt filmed that video, I texted him and said thank you for not sharing the name. We just don't like to hurt each other's lakes. We can get the word out, especially if you're catching giants. You can get the word out pretty quick, And the cool thing about that lake is that it's only good for a couple of weeks out of the year, shallow, and then it's a deep water lake. Then it's a really technical, technique specific deep water lake, and there's a lot of people that have a hard time with it. Even people that are on it every day have a hard time with it. But yeah, I don't mind them doing it. I really, like I said, we all try to stay pretty quiet about the lakes, about the names of the lakes we fish. So, but and here I am wanting to guide the trophy lake. But I don't mind. It's only the first of the 10th, and it only being open 10 days a month, it doesn't get a lot of pressure anyway. It just gets pressure during those 10 days. So, what's your opinion on the Texas rig and soft plastics? What's your biggest bass off of a Texas rig? My biggest bass came off of a Texas rig. My 10 pound 12-ounce bass. I always have a Texas rig tied on, always, and I fish it almost every day. You know, in the springtime, I'm throwing creature baits. In the summer, I'm throwing big worms. In the wintertime, I'm throwing creature baits again. In the fall, and in the wintertime, I'm down in Florida throwing worms and Senkos and swim, and paddle tail worms on a Texas rig. So when spooling straight fluoro, do you back your bait caster? No. No. I have a couple of them that have real deep spools, and those are for my big braid. I actually ordered some spools from 13 that were deep spools to replace some of their shallower ones because I'll use 65-pound braid and just not have enough braid on the spool. But usually they're standard size spool, and I don't have to put a whole lot of line on there. So, done in any barbecue this year? Is the sky blue? Yeah, I've done a lot of bar. As a matter of fact, I just had to restock my freezer full of Boston butts. So I have 6 Boston butts in there. I wait till Food Line has them on sale for 99 cents a pound, and I go buy as many as I can afford and restock my fridge. So yeah, I've done lots of barbecue this year already. So what does it say, Sean? He says, "Look at what happened to OH Ivy, and you will know why they don't tell." Yeah, exactly. It's it. Hmm. Yeah, you can burn a spot, and people can and people try to come and I tell you, for instance, that the little short video I put out, or the Yamatanuki video that I put out where I caught that one that was probably 9 pounds, but I didn't put it on a scale. Um, the day after I launched it, there was a buddy of mine out there fishing. He says, I bet 15 boats fished that spot. And of course, they didn't catch anything because they were already done spawning by the time the video launched. But that's kind of what happens, man. It really is. You got to be real careful. So, let's see. But for you guys that are on here, real quick, I want to talk a little bit again about the Knuckleheads tournament. The Knucklehead tournament is through Fishing Chaos and through the KBF Kayak Bass Fishing page. And it's $15. You join Team Fluke Master, and the winner of the next, we already had 2 tournaments, and we got 2 more months of tournaments, and the winners get to be on my fishing team, and we go fish the championship down on Gunnersville in October. So $15 to enter, and that's it. So, and then also my guide service, go to Fishing Chaos, go to their charter page, and then click on Fishing with Fluke Master. And $300, we're fishing a lake that's only open the 1st to the 10th, right down the road. It's a trophy managed lake, and that's when I caught that 22.5-inch one off of this week, and I caught a 21 or 20 about an hour later. So definitely that's something that you guys want to consider. But $300 is a steal. It's my guinea pig discount, and it ain't going to last long. So you guys might want to jump on that because it's going to go back up to. I'm debating on $400 or $500 for a guide fee. I'll just have to look at cost and that kind of stuff. So, what's the website for Knuckleheads? Let me show you real quick, Sean. So I'm gonna share my screen. Go to Fishing Chaos, and it's an app, so you can go to your app store and download Fishing Chaos app. It's free. go ahead and create an account. It's free as well. And you go over to Charter, which is over here on the right, on the left side. Go to Charter, and it's the same thing on your app too. You click on these three little bars up here, and it drops down, and you see this little list. You click on Charter, and then you do a search for Fluke Master, and it pops up. And there you go. And the only things I've got open right now is a full day guided kayak trip on Heath Lake, and then online coaching session, which I just had my first one the other day, and it was really good. It's a 1 hour coaching session, one-on-one, right here on StreamYard, and it's basically Q&A, and I show you some techniques and stuff like that face to face for an hour. So those are the two different things that can go on. So I think it's awesome. It's just something I wanted to try, and something that is a lot of fun for me, especially getting to know each of you individually. It's a lot of fun. But that's it. That's how it is. It's pretty easy. So, but yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that comment. Well, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. It's been well over an hour. I'm going to go up and say hi to my family. Haven't seen them all day. But appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go ahead and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.